Welcome to the Virgin River Cafe Rewatch podcast. Gigi, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm loving my new drink today. It is matcha. It's supposed to be calming because this episode is going to rile me up. So I need something to calm me down.
Okay. Me, I'm not a matcha girl. I did decide to go with tea today, which is very unusual. I'm usually an iced coffee girl, but I felt like a little bit of oolong tea today. Calm me down too, because this episode a little crazy. All right. Well, let's get to it.
Season 1, Episode 5, Under Fire.
This is halfway through Season 1. Under pressure, Mel and Jack respond to a medical emergency on a remote illegal pot farm. Charmaine and Hope exchange words. That sounds fun. Here we are, where we left off. Jack and Mel are now being held at gunpoint by a familiar face from the pot farm. And remember, he was also stirring up a little trouble in the bar. Right? This guy, he was drinking a little too.
Yep.
When he was showing up, he left the evidence, litter bug. He left that right there. He basically tells him that she needs to come with him. Now, interestingly enough, Jack seems to know a lot about guns. And he, names whatever kind of gun this is. And he's
but
like...
but the thing about it is, I feel he could have taken this munchkin down, let me tell you.
But he's such a suave guy. He didn't need to. He's going to talk his way out of it.
No, I'm thinking if Mel did not step in, Munchkin would be on the floor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if Mel wasn't there, he might have taken him. But I think he didn't want to put her in danger. So he just kind of took her lead, maybe. Possibly. We'll see.
I think he has that protective instinct in him.
Yes, absolutely.
That basically said, he may not say it in so many words. In his head, it's like, this is my woman. You are not threatening my woman. You have now crossed the boundaries.
He's kind of a protector to everybody. He just jumps in all the time.
That's true. He does.
That's his role. He's like the go-to.
This is Mel.
I know. This is different.
This is different.
So this guy is he's got a gun on him, and he's like, is this that certain kind of gun? He goes, you're better off throwing it at me than shooting me with it. It's like, the guy is not having it. He's like, why don't you shut up? And he's like, or what? You're going to shoot me? Really? He's standing up to him. I mean, he is a little guy. He's like a head taller than him. And Mel does not want trouble. Does not. Because he says, it's going to take more than one bullet. I don't even need the gun. You don't even have to shoot me. Mel is, she's a city girl. She is used to what happens after people are shot in the ER, not in the middle of people almost getting shot. And she's tough. She's like, look, we're not going to stand around threatening each other. I don't do well with guns waved in my face. So either let's go or not. I'm getting in the car. Let's just go. If we're going to go, let's go.
I think she is just, I'm sorry. I did not agree with how she handled this. I'm sorry.
I would not have gotten in the truck. He's got a gun. Exactly. I mean, what are you going to do though?
Well,
either you get taken forcefully or you pretend like you're going along.
She should have just let Jack deal with it. And I think she was just like, there's way too much macho-ness going on. I don't want to figure out how this is going to turn out. And that's why she stepped in. But sometimes she puts herself in situations that she should not put herself in situations. Yeah. That's the thing that irritates me with Mel sometimes. It's like, girlfriend, this got nothing to do with you. Just back it up.
Yeah. I don't think she had much of an option, though. I mean, the guy did have a gun. It's not like she had a gun. Jack didn't have a gun. We don't know that. Jack seems to know who this guy is.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised that he doesn't know who he is.
I'm sure he knows who he is. And it's like, I don't take any chances. It's like he was pushing it as far as he could push it, but not pushing it too far. I don't know. But Mel was just like, I'm not having it. If we're going to go, can we just go? Let's get this over with. Let's just do what we got to do. So now we're at the bar. It looks like it's very busy at the bar. Poor Ricky is just running ragged.
Swamped. Yeah, he's swamped.
Yeah. Apparently, it's only him and Brady that are taking care of all these customers. Preacher's always cooking. That's cool. Doc tried to call. Nobody would answer the phone. There's no specials. They're too busy. They can't even deal with it. And Hope is just giving Doc a look. They find out that Mel and Jack are stuck. They got a flat tire. Hope is like, I'm ready to go back to normal. And Doc is like, yeah, well, meddling in other people's affairs is not back to normal. They offer to drive the spare to go help him out. And Ricky informs them that Bert's taking care of it. It's fine. Well, apparently Preacher's not even there either. Who knows who's cooking? Because he's, I don't know, his mom's basement flooded or something. He's out of town. Whoever's cooking, I'm sure it's not as good as when Preacher's there.
I'm sure it's not.
Somebody in the back is cooking. And it's just like a mishmash of people running this place at this point. Hope sees the chaos and jumps in. How nice of her. I mean, it seems like something she would do.
No, people are helping everybody out.
They
As you
always
said,
do that.
This is a town that helps each other out. They're in crisis. And so they're in crisis at the bar.
Exactly.
So
Preacher's not there. Jack's not there. Somebody's got to run the place.
Right, exactly.
Charmaine shows up. And what is she doing? Looking for Jack.
Jack.
Always chasing her man. And she's concerned because all of her calls are going straight to voicemail. Now remember, his phone died. Mel still had some battery. I don't think she had bars, but she had battery. But his phone died. Right. She can't reach him. Where does she go to look for him? The bar. And what does she find out? Where's Jack? Oh. Of course, Hope.
And is more than willing to, as I said, rub salt in the wound. What does she do?
She has to inform her that Mel and Jack have gotten a flat on their way to Myrtle Farms. She's like, oh, great. Yeah, she is not like that. Well, what are they doing? I have no idea, but the tow truck is on the way. I don't know. So she's gonna wait. Interesting. She would like a white Zinfandel, and Hope just cannot resist. Why would you want that? Because it's delicious. Okay. Now, it seems like Charmaine has a more pleasant relationship with Doc. Like, they seem friendly, like acquaintancy. You've seen them talking, they wave. Clearly, Hope and her there's a lot of tension. But between her and
Hope
Doc,
has a lot of problems with a lot of people.
I know. And Charmaine's just one of the many. But it seems like Charmaine and Doc are okay. They seem pleasant. Hope she rubs people the wrong way, I guess. What's funny is Annette O'Toole, who plays Hope, is, from what I've read, is so completely opposite of this character that she loves playing this part because it's just so not her, which I think is funny.
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of the time, because there's a show I love to watch who has also the same thing. It's called Good Witch. And the character is Martha. And she's the mayor. And literally, she's the most, let's just say she feels the world revolves around her. And is very brass and very out there. And the actress herself, not at all, total opposite from what the cast people say. So it seems like
it's fun to be somebody you're not. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. But it's also fun to be someone who is the absolute opposite of you.
I agree.
You know?
Now we have reached this place. Mel is looking very nervous as this gentleman, and I use that term very loosely, is driving her and Jack to this camp area. Lots of guns, lots of men, tents, outdoor fireplaces. It kind of looks like an encampment of some kind. Mel is very skeptical because she doesn't know. She's thinking somebody's sick. Who knows what it could be? You know? So he makes them wait. Now, there's just a lot of people walking around with a lot of guns. They're all eyeballing her and Jack. And she is feeling very uncomfortable. Now, Jack informs her this is an illegal camp where the growers are. And she's like, but where's the pot? And apparently what they do is they take a shipping container and they bury it underground. And because this is on state park property, it's regulated by the forest rangers, which there's not enough of them going around. So the police can't do anything about it. So they basically, as long as they're not causing trouble, they kind of stay out of their way. Mel is like, oh my God, what did I get us into? I am so sorry. Like, oops. Here I am thinking, somebody's got food poisoning or they sprained an ankle or whatever. And he's trying to calm her down and just breathe. And she's like, I thought I was breathing. And he's the hero. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. So dude who was driving and his buddy, taller dude, decide to come and get Mel and Jack and take them to where the sick person or the injured person or whatever is. And they want to take just Mel. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere that she's not going. So if you want her, you got to take me. Perfect. Because he said, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. So they walk in And this familiar face from the bar who was paying Preacher when the guys broke some stuff, a couple chairs and tables, he is injured. And Mel looks at it. Oh my, it's a gunshot wound. They are like, what the heck? So apparently, because she knows her bullets, she says that it went through and through. And they need a tourniquet. What does Jack do? He takes his belt off and makes a tourniquet. Now, that's only a temporary fix because you can only leave a tourniquet on for a couple hours or else, you might lose the leg. Now, they expect her to do something, but she's a nurse. Like, this is a gunshot wound. And she can't do anything. What's she supposed to do with a belt and a towel? So they say, we've got provisions. We've got stuff. The guy says, take them to the provision shed and get what you need. I mean, they expect her to work a miracle.
Basically, they expect her to do surgeries. What they expect her to do.
Right. Now, while they have a moment, Jack is like, look, where's all this stuff come from? So we saw Doc at this place before.
Yeah.
So come to find out, he comes up there once or twice a month. He treats the people and he leaves provisions behind, medical supplies and things for them. For whatever reason, which we'll find out later, this is what he does. Jack is like, we will do what we got to do and we'll get out of here. That's all they can do. Now back at the bar, it's a little bit of chaos. Brady's running around, Hope's running around, everybody's running around.
And people are demanding food.
Oh, yeah, because they ordered their stew an hour ago. Hope's like, just have a burger. Now, working in the hospitality industry, Charmaine kind of steps in. She's like, look, the customer is always right.
Well, part of it is that Charmaine offered him a free comping him because of how long he's had to wait. And now Hope is like upset with her because she's giving away free stuff.
Right.
And what Charmaine is trying to tell Hope is that in order to make customers happy, sometimes you have to comp certain things in order for them to calm a customer down.
Exactly.
And so that's what she's doing, and Hope is not buying it. Hope is very upset. At the same time, Doc is sitting at the bar while all this is going on and listening to this conversation.
Oh, he's just watching the show.
Right. He's just, because he doesn't realize that he is about to get his head bitten off.
Yeah. Yeah. Charmaine finds, I guess she shares with Hope that sometimes Preacher hides some of the food in the refrigerator, like a little extra, and she finds the stew, thank goodness. The customer will get his stew, and she comes out. And she jumps in to help, which, that's kind of what people do. Now, Hope is not happy because she has seen far too much of Charmaine. I mean, she had dinner with her. She's at her house. She's now at the bar. It's like, oh my God, why is this woman in my face all the time? Seriously, I have had enough of her. And Doc is like, what is your beef with her? Can you just leave her alone? Now, it's not up to Hope, but Hope just feels Charmaine is not right for Jack.
Oh, yeah.
And she has her reasons. But
yeah, she's not feeling the love. Let's put it that way.
Doc is like, isn't it kind of up to Charmaine and Jack if they are right for each other? Like, who are you to Budinsky about that? We're back at the pot camp, and Mel is attempting to do something to repair this man's leg. And she's hoping for the best. They let the tourniquet off. The thing bleeds again. She's like, oh my gosh. Now she's worried because the guy who brought her there has a gun. And basically, Jack's there to do whatever she wants him to do because he's just there to help. He doesn't know anything about fixing this guy's leg. He's just there being supportive. She's concerned that if they don't figure this out, this guy could lose his leg and God forbid what happens. Because he could have an infection. It could kill him. He could bleed out overnight. I mean, there could be a million things that could happen. And she's just worried that if he loses too much blood, he's not even going to live. Then what's going to happen? So Jack is thinking, well, if he passes out, I might be able to talk these guys into taking him to the hospital. And she's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. He's not going to live that long. So she's got to come up with plan B. And plan B involves cauterizing his wound because that's the only way to stop the bleeding. So Jack has a knife. He's heating it up. And of course, these other guys have no idea what she's doing. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. They're just there. So she gives Jack very strict instructions, saline and then alcohol and whatever. And the other guy's like, so what are you doing? You're going to burn him? Like, what's that? She's like, do you want him to die? Well, then do what I say. Like, she's taken charge. Like, I mean, he may have a gun, but she's going to tell him what's going on. They cauterize the wound, and it pretty much, the guy's scream pretty much wakes up the whole camp. But it gets wrapped up. Hopefully this helps, because that's a pretty bad wound. Here we are where they left the truck, Jack's truck, and Bert finally shows up. They were right. He got there at nightfall, right?
That's right.
Right on schedule. Right, Bert?
Right on schedule.
So he shows up. He sees the truck and, like, of course, looking for Jack, looking for Mel. Doesn't see anybody. Sees the truck. Well, opens the door, looks around. Nobody's there. Doesn't notice. It's dark, but doesn't notice anybody. Maybe they already got a ride. Maybe somebody picked him up. He calls out for them. Nobody's around. He writes a little note. He calls, but who is he calling? He's calling the bar. Now, remember, the bar is very busy. My guess is they're not worried about what's going on. He's looking for Jack's truck. He found the truck. Yeah, we need 3 more. There's all stuff going on. Brady can't even deal with it. And unfortunately, Bert did not call who he should have called.
Exactly.
Bert's not going to get through to anybody, especially Brady's not going to help. He doesn't care. We're back at the pot camp, and she sort of fixes him up, and then he passes out. The guys are worried. Like, oh my gosh, did he die? No, he didn't die. He passed out. There's a lot of blood loss. It's pain. Seriously, you need to take him to the hospital. Now, it's a gunshot wound. Anybody who knows anything knows that gunshot wounds have to be reported to the police. So there is no way this guy's going to go to the hospital. There's no way. He's got to find. That's why he called her. That's why he was looking for Doc, because they're not going to report him. Now they're like, okay, well, you've got to wait around and see how he's doing. We're going to wait until morning. Here they are thinking they're only going to be there for a couple hours. Well, now they're making him wait until morning.
Well, also the fact that he threatened him.
Well, exactly. Now we're back at Jack's car. Bert leaves a little note. His note says, call me. That's Bert. Unbelievable.
We love Bert, but
yeah, this was not his finest hour.
No, this was not his fun, and we love Bert. He is just adorable.
Yeah, he's a teddy bear. I like. So he leaves because he can't find them. Instead of towing, like, why wouldn't you tow the truck? I didn't understand that.
I didn't understand that. Why did you leave the idea was for you to take the truck back? My question is,
or change the tire. Back, like, did you bring a tire? Did you nothing?
Do come back, or change the tire, because he did nothing except write a note,
which isn't helping anybody.
Nope, not helping a soul.
Okay, so we're back at the pot camp, and Mel and Jack are now they're being forced to stay overnight and wait till morning to see how this guy is gonna do. They get brought 2 sleeping bags next to the fire. She is worried. She's like, what is going to happen?
Outside. This is not inside. There's no cover for them.
No, they're just by the...
They gave them 2 sleeping bags to sleep outside. And what's on the floor, on the ground?
Snow.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is not my idea of camping.
Well, they're not the special guests. They're lucky they're alive at this point.
I guess so.
I mean, they clearly don't care about them. So he puts one of the sleeping bags down on this couchy thing that they've got going on there, and the other one over her. And she's like, but what about you? You're shivering. He's like, oh, my mama raised me right, because he's such the gentleman.
He is.
She's like, I never would have thought we'd be in this situation. It's like, well, even Virgin River's not perfect. She's like, yeah, but it was supposed to be. Which is kind of a shame. Now they sit down and we get a little backstory where we're finally learning a little bit more about both of them, actually. So he's rubbing his knee and shares that he's got a little shrapnel in there, and that when it's cold like that, it really hurts like hell. And she, of course, asks, well, did you know you can get that removed? In a way, he's like, it kind of reminds me that I'm lucky to be alive. I'll leave it in there. Scars, bullet fragments, it kind of reminds you of where you've been, tells a story, all of that. And he appreciates being alive because he clearly went through a lot. Some of the people that he served with didn't make it home. So he appreciates that he's home. And so she wants to know, well, where did this happen in Kandahar? But this particular injury was a sniper, and the look on her face is like, wow. And then he pulls up, then we're going to share some scars. And he pulls up his pant leg, and he's like, oh, look at that. She's like, oh, what's that? Oh, that's from a grenade. And then she asks, about the one on his back. She goes, that's a really big scar. What's that from? And he almost like, I don't know, it's like he kind of fades for a minute because that seems like a pretty intense injury. And he said, Mosul.
He almost has a flashback to some degree
he
in that moment
definitely was thinking about something
because he was thinking about it, and
it's a tough one.
And also the look on his face is so so solemn. He just
a lot happened. Yeah.
Right. And he's not willing to talk about it or share it with anybody at this present moment.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm here to do a job. I'm going to do it. And then I'm out of here.
And then because she wants to break the tension, she shows him her scar on her wrist. And he's like, oh. She's like, 2 screws in a plate. And he's like, really? Let me guess. Skiing or snowboarding or surfing or something. No, a 300-pound schizophrenic high on PCP. He actually was like, oh, because of course that was going to be his next guess. Like, really.
And it took how many men to get him off of her?
Yeah, 2 guards and 50 cc's of Haldol to pry him off of her. It's pretty scary. That means that was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that's a lot to get pumped into one body.
Mm-hmm.
He must have been built like a flipping linebacker.
Well, and when you're high and you're the adrenaline is pumping, you're much stronger than if you would normally be. So
right.
So that's scary, and it's cute how he's like, oh, look at us, just 2 vets sitting around a campfire swapping war stories. So funny. It's like this is how much time these 2 spend together. Look, they go for a drive, they get stuck. Now they're at the camp, they're dealing, and they're always in these very stressful situations together. The thing with Lily, and here we are at the pot camp being held at, by gunpoint. Very stressful situations. They should get some sleep, which I don't know how you would sleep. I mean, he's going to keep watch, but I don't know that I could actually sleep because you don't know what these people are like. So he finds some alcohol. I don't know that I would taste that, sip it. Like, who knows what. Yeah. I don't know. She's like, oh, now all I need is a mint for my pillow. But I also need a pillow, which she has neither of. And he doesn't drink, which is unusual because you would think he'd drink too since he's carrying it in his boot. Maybe he already had some. Who knows? But he's going to keep watch. How nice that she covers him up too because he's cold. And they're just going to sit there sharing a sleeping bag next to the fire in a very stressful situation, hoping no one kills them. I mean, see, the true crime, it was going to sneak its way in. I told you. So we're back at the bar. It's closing time. Everybody's still wondering, where is Jack and Mel? They've waited around. It's late. I mean, you figure the bar closes, 9, 10, something? They're not back yet.
Yeah.
And Charmaine stuck around to help close up. And I guess Doc was appreciative of that, but Hope, not so much. Yeah. Hope did not like
Charmaine brings out the worst in Hope.
Yeah.
And we find out why.
Yeah. She finally just excuses herself. Like, she's waited long enough. She was going to wait for Jack. It's getting late. She's not going to wait anymore. Just let him know I was here. She tells Doc, and she's got to get out of there. She's done. She's probably listened to Hope bark at her all night. Mm-hmm. And then Doc finally calls her on it. She had said something about Charmaine having an affinity for Doc. And I guess that brought it all back up to the surface, saying that Charmaine is not her mother. And is she still mad, taking it out on Charmaine from something that happened 20 years ago. And that's where we find out that Charmaine's mom is the one Doc had a fling with.
And it may have been a one-time thing, but it was bad enough to cause...
It ruined their marriage.
Yeah, because everybody in town knew about it except for her.
Yeah, so I don't think it was a one-time thing. It may have been. It's hard to tell. It may have been a one-time thing, but yes, everyone knew. Yeah. And the reason it happened was some patient of his had passed away, a boy, and he was devastated. He almost wanted to leave Virgin River, but instead he had a one-night thing or whatever with Charmaine's mom. Now, this was 20 years ago, so Charmaine must have been a teenager at the time.
Probably.
Yeah. No matter what he has done over the last 20 years, she will not forgive him. Hope is just not having it. He's apologized. He's done everything he could possibly do. She will not let it go, and she will not accept his apology. And she just keeps telling him, you don't get it. He's like, just explain it to me. Like, I don't understand. What else can I do? And she's just not having it.
But the thing about it is, she may not be having it, but Hope is just holding on to it
Mm-hmm.
long enough. And the thing is, Doc he's tried for 20
Yeah,
years to apologize.
he has.
And the hurt is so bad
Yeah,
for Hope that it doesn't matter how many times he apologizes, she's not going to give him
it's
the
almost
time
like
of
she
day.
can't hear it anymore. She just can't.
Yeah, she's just like, sorry.
She's done. She'll keep him around, but
Yeah,
she's
but
not
she's
going to
not.
let him back in.
Well, it's like this. She's willing to, I don't even know if it's she's willing to forgive, but she's not willing to
Oh, she
forget.
will never
Is that,
forget. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
you know what I mean?
So it's morning, and we are back at the pot farm, and Mel has fallen asleep on Jack's shoulder,
How
which
cute.
is very cute. He has to tell her that she snores, and she's like, I don't snore. Oh, yes, like a lumberjack. It's like, don't exaggerate. Surround sound. The guy comes over and he's like, all right, Calvin, that's his name, the guy who got shot. He's awake. You need to come take a look. I mean, just when they were having a nice, cute little conversation. I don't know. It's kind of hard to be romantic in the middle of a pot farm when you're being held at gunpoint. But okay, we'll go there. Hope gets a phone call. Someone is looking for Hope McCrae. And she's like, well, not if you're trying to sell me something. She is looking for Mel. Who is this? And she's like, this is her sister, Joey Barnes. Joey, she talks to her sister all the time. And she hasn't spoken to her since the evening before. And it's very unusual for her to not answer her phone or call back or whatever. She hasn't been able to reach her, and she's freaking out. You know, it's, I mean,
It seems like they speak to each other every day.
I think they do. And I think they may even
And
speak multiple times. It's very unusual that she didn't
right.
call
So
back.
the fact that she hasn't heard from her sister all day, not just she heard from
the
her
night
once,
before.
So that's where things get interesting.
Yeah. So now they're back at the pot farm, and Mel is checking out Calvin. He's up, he's sitting, he's moving, and she's explaining to him, you're not out of the woods. You could get a fever. You could get an infection. I mean, it might not show up right away. I mean, it could take a couple days. Because he's like, oh, I'm good, right? Like, I'm golden. Like, yeah. And she's like, you're just lucky to be alive. He thinks he's fine. She's like, no, you really should go see a doctor. Like, you should go to a hospital. Got to change the dress. You got to do all these things. And he's just like, no, I'm good. I'm fine. They're okay. Jack's like, if you're good, can we go now? Can we please get out of here? And that's when Calvin gives him, Jimmy, he's the short guy, gives him the okay to take them back to their truck. So they're like, finally, they can get out of there. So they're headed back to take them back to where they had their flat tire, and they hear somebody screaming. Now, I mean, Mel can't help herself. Jack can't help himself.
I swear to God, the two of them are their own worst enemies.
I know. So they run toward the screaming woman, and what they find is a woman in labor. And remember Spencer, who tried to get money from Doc for information about a pregnant woman? Well, this must be the pregnant woman. So that's Spencer and Maxine.
And this is his girlfriend.
Yes, this is his girlfriend. Mel is like, oh my gosh. I'm a nurse. I'm a midwife. How long have you been? She's asking her all these questions about her labor. And they said, she's been pushing, nothing's happening. Spencer's worried. She's basically having this baby in the middle of a tent, in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Now, this is Mel's specialty. So she's going to help deliver this baby. She's going to check. And she's a little worried because even though water is broken and she's fully dilated, which normally would mean you're ready to push, but then she finds a problem. And the problem is the baby's breech, which basically means the feet are coming first. So Mel is like, that's bad.
This is not good.
No, this is not good. They don't know what that means.
Yeah. And breech babies basically mean that generally when we in Western culture have breech babies, we generally have C-sections.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And if this young lady had been getting medical attention,
they would have known that.
Exactly, they would have known that. And one of the things they do is they try to turn the baby before the baby is born. That way, the baby's head is facing in the right direction.
Well, and if they would have known ahead of time, they may have been, like, if she weren't in active labor, she might have been able to try to turn the baby, but she's literally pushing.
Right, exactly.
They can't do anything then.
And the fact that Mel reached in and felt a foot tells us that this baby is already in the birth canal.
Already ready to come.
this baby is coming whether they want it or not
Yeah,
to come.
absolutely. And so she has to come up with a plan because she's like, okay, don't push until I tell you to push. Just
Right.
breathe deep. And so she's like, crap. Jack is freaking out. He is a nervous wreck. So she yells out some orders. People just listen to her. I don't know. She's like, I need hot water. I need towels. I need alcohol. I need scissors. And these two girls who are just kind of standing there trying to be helpful take off. They go find supplies. And Jimmy, little short dude,
In the mean, is being an idiot.
and Mel is like, she's having a breech delivery. There's not a hospital in 50 miles. If you're not here to help, then you need to get out. Like if she's in nurse mode, if she's in medical mode, you don't mess with her. Like seriously, nobody should cross her when she's like that. And he's like, all right, and he leaves. Like he's not even.
She's very dedicated as a nurse, and she's not willing to jeopardize her patients. For bullshit. Basically, is what's going on.
Well, and so Jack brings it home. He's like, you really want a dead baby on your conscience? Like I wouldn't think so. Mel has to put the exclamation point at the end by saying, if you don't have a job here, you need to get out. They go try and get some more supplies, and she's got to figure out what to do. Now, this is nerve-wracking because you're right. This would normally be a C-section. She has to explain to poor Maxine that we've got to figure out how to do this. Now, we're back at Doc's clinic.
He has a lovely house. It's a lovely
beautiful
house.
It's a real house. They
it's
film
a
the
real house.
exterior. It's not far from where they film a lot of things, but it's a real house. They only use the exterior. People always ask about the front door. They're always like, it's a red front door, but then there's a stained glass door. And I believe that the theory is that when they're open, the red doors are open, even though every time you walk up to it, they're closed. But that's the only way the light would get through so that you could see the stained glass. So I feel like when the office is open, the red doors are open, and then you can see the light and the sun shine through the stained glass because it's like a double door. There's like a vestibule there in between. But yeah, it's a beautiful house. But all of the interiors are in a studio, which is interesting. Tim Matheson, who plays Doc, did a behind the scenes, and he filmed like walking through at the beginning of the season of this season 6. He filmed like walking through and kind of describing different things, like, oh, the fireplace there, we've never had a fire in there, and different things like that, which was really interesting. Because
I think that happens to most movies where what they film the exterior, and then they move inside to film the interior in a studio that's not too far away.
Yeah.
Because I remember that being the case with the Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, that makes sense. They discover that Bert found the truck. He called when he made the phone call last night, the night before. He called the bar, and he did call Doc's office, but he left a message. And so Doc didn't get it till this morning. And so nobody knew what was going on. So unfortunately, and then of course Hope is like, oh, well, Mel's sister called. Like everybody's looking for her. And they're saying Joellen, which remember Mel is still staying at the bed and breakfast. Joellen said she never came home. It's like everybody's like, wait a second, they're still missing. Like, this is terrible. This is worse than we thought. Like, we thought they were just broken down and they probably brought the car back and everything's fine. That's not the case. Doc's gonna go out. He thinks he knows where they might be because Myrtle Farm, there's only one road that goes there. And he's gonna follow it, hoping he'll find them. And Hope is gonna help in the bar because nobody is there to do that. So we're back at the pot farm, and this poor girl is trying to resist the pushing. She is trying not to have this baby right now because this is a deadly situation.
But babies have a habit of coming whether you want them to come or not.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And he was like, well, what's plan B? And she's like, the same as plan A. We got to deliver this baby. The only thing she can think of is to have her get on her hands and knees and use gravity to help this baby come down because the head is the hardest part to come out. And you don't want that thing to get stuck because that's a problem. That can be deadly. So she's got to do the best she can in this very difficult situation to have this lady have this baby. She positions her the best way she can. She gets Spencer to help and hold her up. And she has to do the best she can in this very difficult situation.
And
This poor
she is
girl screaming.
screaming. She's screaming bloody murder at
Oh
this
yeah.
point.
Well, this is no epidural. This is all natural.
Oh, yes. All natural. We see Doc driving to where their car
And he
is, their
finds
truck
it.
is. Yeah, he finds the note. He sees Mel's purse is still there.
Now he knows
So,
that's a problem. She wouldn't leave her purse
yeah.
behind without the problem.
And
He's
then he
he's got to
sees,
figure it out. He has a
yeah,
clue. He has an idea, but
mm-hmm,
his idea gets confirmed and he knows where they are. Not happy
because
about it.
he sees the bear can that Mr.
Jimmy.
Oompa Loompa Jimmy
Yes.
dropped,
Jimmy dropped.
and he knows exactly where they are now.
Now we're back to poor Maxine in labor, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
"You're doing good. I need you on this next contraction to push as hard as you can." And at this point, that's really all she can do. Now the legs are out, and Jack, God love him, it's a boy. What else is he going to do? So trying to be an encouraging spectator, he's like, she has to get that head out though. So she
Yeah.
explains, unfortunately, that there's going to be a lot of pressure and she's going to have to stick her hand up there and give this baby a little nudge. And Jack looks like he wants to pass out.
Pass out.
I love it. She says, "Are you okay, cowboy?" He's like, "Oh, just fine. I'm just fine." And this poor girl has to push. And this baby finally, thank God, because this would have been bad. She
Mm-hmm.
pushes this baby out and it cries. It's a little boy and he cries and he's okay. Fortunately, he made it out. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure years ago, breech births didn't end this well,
Nope, they did not have a good survival rate at that point. So, and she says, "I want to see my son. I want to see him."
And he's okay.
And
The baby's okay. And everybody's, cleaning the baby
yeah,
up, making sure everybody's good. I mean, you know, even Spencer's like, "I'm your dad." It's really cute. Mel did a wonderful job as usual. She knows what she's doing.
she's good at her job.
Yeah.
There's no denying that, which is interesting because as we learned in previous episodes, she lost her own child.
Mm-hmm.
and and I'm sure that every time she delivers a
Yeah,
baby,
it's tough.
it's tough because in her head she's going, why, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, how come I don't
And
have a
even though,
baby? They're having
right,
babies.
right, and the thing is, she knows why what happened to her daughter happened,
Mm-hmm.
but it
Doesn't
doesn't
make it any
sh-
easier.
it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah. And the music, I love the music.
Oh,
They
the
have a lot of
music in this.
independent artists like that song that played during the birth when the baby is born. It's called When Life Begins. The music is really good. They have a lot of
Yeah,
independent artists. They use a lot of covers from famous people also, but they have a lot of really good music.
yeah. Now we're back at the bar, and guess who shows up?
Oh,
Charmaine.
Charmaine. And
Oh, I swear to God, she is like a dog with a bone.
she's a bad penny. She just keeps turning up and she wants to talk to Hope. It's like Hope has had enough of Charmaine, but she's
Oh,
trying to be
in
civil.
spades.
She's trying to be
I,
civil. She's there to help at the bar, but before she helps, she's like, "Look, can we talk? I
yeah,
really I need to get a few things off my chest." Hope looks like she wants to cry, but she's like, "Look, I know about my mom and Doc." And she's like, "Of course, everybody knew." And she's like, she feels horrible. She can't control what her mother did. She was just a kid. But, she's like, "And I know." And it turns out that her mother and Hope were best friends, which
friends.
makes it even
Yes,
worse.
which is, it,
It adds
I can't
insult
even.
to injury that
Right,
Charmaine
because
looks like her mother,
because
too.
you right, and I think the thing about it also is, as girlfriends, that's kind of like a sacred thing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
you don't
The girl
you don't
code. You
cross
don't,
that.
you don't,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you don't cross that code. And so the fact that Charmaine's mother crossed that, I think I think I think that's one of the reasons why Hope isn't willing to
Mm-hmm.
forgive Doc, because she
He knew they
feels
were
like she
best
was
friends.
right. She feels like she was betrayed by the two
Yes.
people that she trusted the
Yeah,
most.
that's true.
And so the deal is she is taking it out on on both
Yep.
Charmaine's mother and Doc, because the most sacred trust is what
Yeah.
they broke.
And Charmaine's
You
mother's
know,
not around
right?
for
You
whatever
know,
reason, which we will
yeah.
discover.
Discuss later. Yes,
But
yes,
Charmaine's there, and so
yeah.
she apparently looks like her mother. She can't help
And
that,
she
and
and
Hope
she
is just
says
not
and
happy.
she says that, yeah, she says that she says that to Hope. She says, Hope says, you look like your mother, and she said, I know. And that's something she can't do anything about. Genetics is a bitch, as they say.
Can't help it.
And sometimes your children don't look anything like you, and other times they are a splitting
Spit an
image of
image.
you.
And I think
You know,
unfortunately so every time Hope looks at Charmaine, she just,
she
and maybe that's a
sees,
part of the reason why she's having such a hard time,
yes,
you know,
yes,
forgiving Doc, is because she's just constantly reminded
right. And I
of that.
think also the fact that the reason why she doesn't like Charmaine is because that also she feels like, Charmaine looks like her mother. And also the fact that she considers Charmaine's mother wasn't good enough. She doesn't feel like Charmaine isn't good enough for her boy,
Mm-hmm.
because she feels that Charmaine's going to do the same thing
Yeah.
to Jack as she did with Doc. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why
Kind of like the
she,
whole apple doesn't fall far.
and this is why she can't stand Charmaine.
Not good enough.
That, nope. And unless the Almighty came down himself and said,
Right.
it's okay, she is not. Nope, 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 nope.
And I mean, Hope recognizes that she's blaming Charmaine for something she had nothing to do with, but it's only now. It's taken 20 years for her to even address that.
That's a long time to hold on to a
Long time to
grudge.
hold that, but man,
That's a
makes her
long
who she
time.
is.
True,
Charmaine's not a
but
bad person.
still.
She's like, I'm sorry. She goes, but thanks for listening. I know she didn't do anything, but she listened, and that's really all she wanted to do. It's
Right.
like this is the start of Hope forgiving. Finally, after
Yeah.
20 years, she's maybe starting to forgive.
But also, I think it's Charmaine's way of saying, look, I'm apologizing for my mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My
She's not
mother
here
may
to do
not
it.
be,
I'm going to do it for
she's not
her.
right. I'm going to do it for her. Exactly.
So now we're back at the pot farm, and Mel and Jack and the baby and Spencer and Maxine are trying to leave. And Jimmy is like, oh, no, no. And Mel is like, look, they need to get to a hospital. He's going to go with his family. Enough with the insanity. Calvin, who's the boss, he's a grown man. He can do whatever the heck he wants, but these are my patients and I want to make sure that they're okay. So I need to take them to the hospital. And just as that happens, guess who shows up?
Good old Doc.
Yeah. And he's like, Maxine. And Jimmy finally confesses, yeah, we didn't want you to know that she was really here. Because for whatever reason you were looking for her, and, who knows what that was about. Because they always assume everybody's out to get them. So Mel explains to Doc that they had a breech delivery, everybody's okay, but we need to get them to the hospital. Now Calvin is up and around. He's got a cane, but he's up and around. And he's like, oh no, nobody's going anywhere. Now, apparently, Doc and Calvin have some type of arrangement. And as long as Doc doesn't, he looks the other way about their little pot business, then Doc will come up and he'll take care of the people. They have a mutual understanding. And Calvin is trying to go back on that by saying they can't leave. And Doc is like, oh no, they're going to come with me because you don't want any trouble. And I don't want to bring the sheriff up here. It won't come back to you. Just let me take them. But Calvin is only going to let the baby and Maxine go. Like Spencer, it's almost like collateral. I have to hold him so that you won't tell on me, unfortunately. And just before they leave, Calvin says to Jack and Mel, I'm going to be seeing you two. A little bit scary because you've got the head of the pot farm threatening you, kind of. And you don't know what this guy capable of. So they all head out of there. And poor Spencer, you feel so bad for him. He just wants to go with Maxine and the baby.
His son was just born. He wants to make sure his son is fine.
It's terrible. They don't let him leave, which is really a shame. But Doc is like, no, I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him. I mean, unfortunately, Spencer has to stay behind. But, at least they're letting Maxine and the baby go so they can, get taken care of. Now, we're back at the bar. And Jack and Mel arrive at the bar. Nobody's there. Yeah,
Again, it's 9 o'clock at night somewhere, and people
probably.
are in bed.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they may have been open, but I think when they said they went to the hospital and he talked to Hope and Mel talked to her sister. And I think Jack had said, just close up. Like, just close up. We're not going to
Yeah,
make it back. Just, yeah, don't even worry about it. When
I
it's your
guess
own
I
business,
guess
you close
so.
whenever you want.
That's true, but I think part of it is just that Jack, he knew him and Mel would be just exhausted
Well, he didn't
because
sleep. He stayed up all night. She maybe
that's
got a
true.
nap, and they had to sleep
Yeah,
outside. So, I mean, they're coming
yeah,
down off of that. That's a very stressful
yeah.
situation. So, Jack, the fireplace, and it's funny, the fireplace was waiting for them. It was burning,
Yep.
which fine, they were probably cold. They probably needed it. He grabbed some whiskey or something, probably.
Some sort of very strong
Some
alcoholic.
very strong alcohol. One of the boys, what do
Mm,
they call it? Jack, Jimmy, Jim,
Jimmy and
whatever.
some.
I don't know my
Yeah,
alcohol. Sorry.
yeah.
And he pours them both a drink, and they finally can breathe. Mel is like, my body needs to catch up with my head. My head needs to catch up with my body. He downs his. She's a sipper. He's a gulper. And he's very impressed with how she performs under pressure because he's like, I know some special forces people that do not perform under pressure like you. I mean, she's kind of like, I got to do what I got to do. And he wants to make sure that she called Joey, and they're both exhausted.
Oh
But
yeah, they
more than
definitely are.
exhausted, they're starving.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we find out that he only knows how to make one thing: steak.
The man of man meals.
Mm-hmm.
Steak.
Yep. And she's like, I'll take mine medium rare. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
sounds good. And then she wanted a vodka martini with a twist. Now, we all know that at Jack's bar, that is not
Mm-hmm.
possible. But
That's true because
yes, they
yeah,
don't do that. That's a mixed
they
special
don't.
drink.
That's right. That's a mixed special drink.
Yep. And
Everything here in the bar is a shot. Is
right?
straight up.
So he pours her some more, and she's like, or that. Because at this point, she'll drink whatever he's pouring, because it's just been
That's
that
right.
kind of day. And what are they toasting to? Being
Hmm.
home.
That's right.
I mean, it's interesting how they go through these constant stressful situations that always seem to work out. They're just sitting at the end. It's like if you didn't know what they just went through, it would just look like two friends sitting having a drink in front of the fireplace.
Well, as you and I always say, certain people have the luck of the Irish.
Yeah, well, they're very lucky. Now, again, he's a gulper and she's a sipper. So Doc makes it back to Hope's. In a way, she thinks everything's back to normal. Oh, you're back. You found him. Great. Come on in. And he's like, apparently
Nope.
he's had some time to think. He found another attorney and scheduled a
Yep.
call. And this is exactly what she wanted.
Right.
So
But
she thought.
then you see the look on her face,
Mhm.
which is what just happened.
Yeah. Like, this is what I've wanted until now. It's
Mhm.
that look. Like, I thought this is what I wanted, but maybe not. But he's like, this is, good night. Like, he could probably, if it was a normal day and it was 24 hours before, he probably would have come in. She would have fixed him something to eat. They would have had a conversation, whatever, and then he would have gone home. But at the point where he's giving her exactly what she's been asking for this
Yep.
whole time. And she's at the point where I have been asking for this, but maybe it's not what I want anymore, which is so hard.
It is.
Now they're in
because
opposite sides again.
right, because she originally thought this is what she wanted. We find out that this is not exactly what she
necessarily.
wanted. So
Not
that
necessarily.
makes things interesting.
Oh, yeah. Jack, being the gentleman that he is, he walks Mel not just to the front of the B&B, all the way to her door. Because
Ooh, how generous.
Isn't that just such the what do they call that? Chivalrous
Ah,
man that
yes,
he is.
Chivalry has not died in
Chivalry
Virgin
has
River,
not died.
apparently.
No. Mel is, she's like, I hope that I don't lose my special forces standing if I tell you I'm kind of still freaked out. I mean, that was a lot. That was a lot that they went through. And with Calvin kind of making a threat at the end, I mean, she's still worried, and she is not sure that she's going to be able to sleep. I mean, she feels like they should have called the sheriff, but Jack is like, look, the pot farm, We try and contain everything that goes on over there. As long as the sheriff's not involved, they kind of keep to themselves. They stay on their side, we stay on our side, and it's kind of the way Doc wants it. And as long as they're not breaking what they said they would do, and everybody kind of stays on their own side, it should be fine. She doesn't agree with it, but so these are people that they have dealt with for a long time, I'm sure.
Right.
And she's kind of just gonna take their word for it that this is the best way to handle it, whether she agrees with it or not. She at least voices her opinion. This is how they want to keep peace. She's just freaked out. He sees that she's freaked out, and he's like, look, I'll sleep in my truck. I'll be right outside if you need anything. And she's like, you can't do that. It's cold. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, we just slept outside last night. Like, seriously? So she offers, which is an odd offer, but okay. I have a chair in my room. If you just come in, just sit there so I can fall asleep. As soon as I fall asleep, you're good. Okay? And he was like, she's like, okay, good. Like, she's not even giving him the option to say no. I mean, he would not say no, but she's not giving him the option to say no.
You know, she's a nicer version of Hope. Let's put it this way. And a younger version. Because they're both stubborn. They're both determined. They both make sure things get done.
Now, it's sometime later, and she has fallen asleep. Clearly, Jack, who didn't sleep the night before, fell asleep as well in the chair. And she wakes up to see that he's asleep. And she's not going to disturb him. I mean, she's not going to be like, seriously, is she going to wake him up and send him home? No, she's not. No. She's going to put a blanket on him and just let him sleep. He'll be fine. He's fine. And everything is fine. He's stirring a little, but he's sleeping. She, of course, goes back to sleep, doesn't give it a second thought until he starts having a night terror. Now, that's night terrors are something people don't recall. Now, nightmares they do, but night terrors, no.
Generally, it's generally one of those things that affects small children, mostly. It's not that it doesn't affect adults. It does.
Yeah, it affects adults too, for sure.
But, right.
Especially when you've had traumatic experiences.
He starts to freak out in his dreams.
Yeah, he's recalling more time in the military and things that happen. And it's like he's having conversations with people, and there's an explosion and gunfire, and he's trying to get people out, and he's yelling, preach, and they're yelling, and it wakes Mel up, and she comes over to try and jostle him a little bit, and he jumps up, practically freaks her out. Now, he looks scared to death, and he's not even seeing her.
No.
He's in his own world.
I don't remember what the technical term for it is, but he basically is
It's like sleepwalking, but not really.
Right.
Or
but
sleep
he
dreaming
looks like he looks like he's awake.
He definitely looks like he's awake. And he's mortified. And he's like yelling, Lonergan. And then he gets really sad. His eyes tear up. And it's like, I'm sorry. I mean, it's so sad. This young guy is clearly this Lonergan person. And he's just heartbroken because he's apologizing to this nothing who's in front of him. And Mel is just like, what is going on? Like, what has this guy been through? I mean, his eyes are like, he's practically crying. And she just calms him down, sits him down, covers him up. He goes right back to sleep.
Literally just closes his eyes.
Yep.
He hits the chair his eyes close, and that's it.
He's done.
And Mel is like, oh my God, this is something serious.
Yeah, I mean, she looks like she's gonna cry.
Yeah.
And she just like, wow, this is and she's a nurse. This is probably a PTSD situation.
Definitely.
So this gives her before when they were talking about his military and, oh, it's fine, I'm good, and a couple injuries here or there. Now she's finding out that he's not being truthful.
Yeah, the scars run deep.
Yes.
Scars run deep. So
deep that they're coming out in his subconscious when he's asleep. This is kind of gives her a different perspective of him. And that's where this episode ends.
It is. End of episode 5.
Yep.
Season 1.
We are now halfway through season 1. Crazy. So much has happened. So now we have a little backstory on some traumatic experiences that Jack has been through in the
That
military.
shapes Jack.
And we have some traumatic experiences that Mel's been through.
Yes.
So we don't see a husband, and now she's lost a baby.
No.
I mean, I don't think anybody's okay. Yeah, that was a tough one.
Not. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you once again. This was fun.
Yep, it was.
We'll have to get together again and do some more episodes. Awesome.
Bye.
All right. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.